Yo, it's the Q&A part 2. First question, Lisa, insulin spike and weight gain. I would say you don't need to worry about spiking insulin because when we eat or when blood sugar is elevated, our body or our pancreas will release insulin. It comes along, it allows the sugar to be absorbed into the cell. It's a perfectly normal thing, unless there's some pre-existing health condition or reason why you should worry about it. In healthy individuals, it's just not something, especially related to weight gain, it's just not something that I would concern myself with. For you, I would say if I could give you like the 100 things to focus on for your diet and training, it wouldn't make the top 100. So yeah, don't worry about it. Fasted cardio, effective or not? It can be effective. I quite like it, but more from a convenience point of view as opposed to it's doing anything sort of magical fat burning wise. I think the benefit with fasted cardio is you can get up in the morning and just, for me, it's like going out for a run, getting out the door and just cracking on. Some people don't particularly like eating before sessions. It makes them feel a bit sluggish, so fasted cardio can work well. But I don't necessarily know if there's any... If you did the same bout of cardio and you had breakfast before or breakfast afterwards and the rest of the calories for the day were even, I don't think you're going to see a significant amount of or a significant difference between the two. So my advice would be go with your preference and what fits in with your diary and stuff like that. Long duration cardio, effective or not for fat loss? It definitely is. So the benefits of like longer duration cardio, obviously, if you're going out sort of, walking or running or whatever for like an hour, hour and a half plus, you're going to burn quite a few calories. Another benefit is if you're doing like a power walk, you get the benefits of burning a bit of fat, but you're also not smashing the legs to bits. Whereas something like interval training or HIIT training in particular, or, pushing a prowler or pulling a sled, something like that, that's going to cause more damage in the legs, so then that might affect you're doing squats and deadlifts the next day, that might affect that. So, but the downside with like longer duration cardio is exactly what it says, it's the time it takes to do it, whereas you can go into the gym, knock out 20 minutes of intervals, it's really time efficient. So it's sort of, again, I would look at your program as a whole and see where these things fit in. If you're training 4-5 days a week, maybe more lifting weights, I think personally it's hard to program in, well, maybe one or two, but multiple like high intensity sessions I think can be detrimental to your lifting sessions, whereas some lower intensity steady state stuff can work quite well, but that's not an absolute. Again, preference and your program will sort of dictate what's best. Lost my place here. Okay, Michelle, first question is like Mac Nutrition. Not quite sure what you mean by that, so if you want to elaborate, feel free, but the other two, I sort of get where you're coming from. How much carbohydrate, and will this affect getting lean and staying steady? I'm assuming like staying at a steady weight. How much carbohydrate for the individual is like how long's a piece of string? It's all in the context of the diet as a whole. So if you're on like the lower end of the carb scale, say you don't eat a lot of sort of like pastas, rice, bread, all that sort of stuff, but you train a lot and you think there might be benefit of sort of eating a little bit more, I would just introduce it gradually. So at first, if you're on like a low carb approach, I would maybe introduce like a starchy carb with your evening meal. So it's likely to be after your training as well, so that could work quite well, in terms of recovery. So literally it might be like, a potato or a handful of rice or a handful of pasta, something like that. In terms of how much to eat in the long term, it's going to be a case of trial and error. Say like maybe you introduce this one carb meal a day extra, see what the weight does, see how your training goes. If your weight's leveling out or even starts going down, or you are able to train harder, then obviously that's a bonus, keep doing your thing. But there will be a tipping point, and some people can get away with more carbs than others. Will this affect getting lean and staying steady? Well, getting lean is all about being in like a calorie deficit. So whether those additional calories come from carbs, fat or protein, it doesn't make a massive amount of difference. The main thing there is just total calories and energy balance. In terms of staying at a steady weight, I think carbs in the diet can serve a few purposes. First and foremost, again, I know, I think all the questions I've got from people on Facebook are people who I know personally train hard and do multiple sessions a week. And if that's the case, I think having a, not necessarily a high carb diet, but at least a moderate carb diet, like getting a couple of servings a day, I think could work well. And I think if it fuels better training sessions, then you set yourself up for being able to maintain a steady weight in the future. Just my opinion. Any further questions on that, fire away and I'm happy to answer them. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.